Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, a life coach and a consulting hypnotist. And every Saturday afternoon at 2:30 Central Time, I shoot a short 5-10 minute video on some aspect of coaching or the hypnotic arts and sciences. I then download, edit the video and put it up on my YouTube channel, cross-linking it back to Facebook. So uh, feel free to check things out. When I edit this, my website will show up at the end, and you can access my YouTube channel from there. So today, I want to talk about the similarities between hypnotism and the martial arts. Now, hypnosis, of course, is an art and a science. We study it academically. There's a lot of technical stuff you have to learn and master to do it well. And there's a certain artistic side. A well-crafted induction is a thing of beauty and requires some literary and oratorical skills. And when you're working with a client as a hypnotist, you of course have a plan for what you want to do first, what you want to do second, and what you want to do third. But every good hypnotist that I've ever known will tell you that when they work with a client hypnotically, they go into hypnotic trance themselves. Typically, it's a lighter trance than the trance the client is in, but a lot of what you're saying or doing is you're not thinking, you're not really following the plan in a cookbook sort of way. You are just letting the information flow out of your own subconscious mind about what it is to do right with this client based upon the feedback you're getting from the client, their facial displays, the body position, and so on. And I think every hypnotist I've ever known who's been in practice for a while will tell you about just deciding to give a suggestion that they hadn't planned to do with the client, but it turns out to be exactly the intervention that client needed that day. And that came right out of the hypnotist's subconscious mind. So hypnosis makes, though it's an art and a science using the conscious mind for the practitioner, it makes use of the practitioner's subconscious mind as well. And information from the subconscious mind often guides what the practitioner does when putting together the trance experience. Now, in martial arts, we have a similar sort of thing. Now, so that you understand my background, I am a multiple black belt in Taekwondo. I was also the weapons instructor, the traditional weapons of Korea and Japan, for my dojang for more than a decade. I no longer teach or go to tournaments, but I still train regularly with the martial arts weapons of which I am a master. Now, in martial arts, you basically have two areas of discipline. First, you have the forms. The forms are gymnastic routines that you do just in a certain space, moving your arms or legs, typically just into the air. You're not working with a target. But the forms of the martial arts are its savings bank. Every technique that martial art knows how to do is represented somewhere in the various forms that the practitioners do. And the forms have a left side, a right side, a definite number of movements. They're very precise. When you're testing for a higher degree of belt, if your arm is out of position by even a few degrees, that's a demerit. It's very precise. But when you're doing a form, you learn it consciously. You know, okay, I'm going to do an axe kick here, and I'm going to do a step behind side kick here. But when you're doing the form, you can't think your way through it. Things move too fast. You have to be very fluid. It's all muscle memory and your subconscious mind. You practice the form so much that it's no longer a conscious thing. It becomes subconscious. You don't think about it, you just do it. And so the discipline of the martial arts forms very much a subconscious practice once the technical part of the form has been mastered cognitively. The other big chunk in martial arts is sparring. When you spar with a partner to train your ability to protect yourself or to protect someone else. Now, again, sparring, you'll enter the sparring circle with a plan. You have some idea of who your opponent is. You can look at his or her physiology and figure that, well, this person's got long legs, they're going to be a kicker at long distance, and so on. But when you actually begin to spar, if you try to think your way through what you're doing, let's see, I'm going to throw a heel palm strike here, you'll be annihilated. It's all flow. It's a dance. You typically are not consciously talking to yourself during the sparring bout. You're just reading the opponent's energy, using your own subconscious wisdom, and moving your arms and hands into the right place. And when I spar and I'm most effective, I sometimes don't even have a recollection at the end of the tournament about what I did, where, or why. It was all unconscious. It was all just flowing. Often when martial artists test, you're required to break one or more boards. The reason board breaking is used as a test in most hard form martial arts is that if the technique is not executed perfectly, the board will not break. So it's an absolute test. Now, when you break a board, it's being held by a couple of your comrades with their elbows locked out so it can't move. And you actually are not targeting the board. You are targeting something that you imagine is behind the board, because your foot or hand has to go right through the board to hit that target. If you see the target, if the board is real to you, when you execute the punch, for example, as you execute the twisting punch, you do not even acknowledge that the board is there. Often you will have a negative hallucination, as hypnotists call it. You do not see the board. It is not there. You see the target that is behind it. And that is when you will glide right through and the board will shatter. If, and I've seen this happen, if something happens in the course of executing the strike, someone yells or something and distracts you, and you lose your focus, the negative hallucination becomes broken and the board becomes real to you again, you will instinctively start pulling that punch to avoid hurting yourself. And the board will not break, but your hand will. So a properly executed board break is intrinsically a hypnotic phenomena involving basically negative hallucination, where you do not see something that is actually there. So the martial arts and the hypnotic arts are actually very similar in that they fundamentally, well, they start with a cognitive understanding. You have to learn how to be a hypnotist. You have to learn how to do martial arts. But then there's the phase of mastery where you're no longer thinking consciously. It just flows from the subconscious mind. The last time I did a board breaking routine, I remember addressing the board. I heard myself yell, and I looked at the board being broken into two pieces in the hands of my comrades, but I have no recollection of stepping through and shattering that board with a kick. I don't remember doing it at all. And when I heard myself, Kayap, of the yell when you break the board, I heard myself as if it were someone else. Now, I was obviously in a dissociated state, which is hypnotic trance. And what I was experiencing by not remembering what had happened during that time is what hypnotists today call retrograde amnesia. And it happens all the time in hypnotic work, where the client doesn't remember the entire experience that the client has had. So there is an intrinsic similarity between hypnotism and martial arts at the mastery level. Hey, thank you for your attention. I hope you found this of some interest. I will be back next week talking about something else. I'm going to be talking about something in medical hypnosis, a phenomena we call hitting the wall. And I think you might find that helpful, especially if you deal with people who are have cancer or some other major kind of life-changing diagnosis. If you're curious about my work, please feel free to reach out to me. If I can be of help, I'm always happy to do that. That's what I do for a living, after all. You can check out my website, and also we have a Patreon channel for those people who want a deeper engagement with my work. Thank you very much. Have a great one.